Did you, because I know you were an English teacher, which I remember that because I was an English teacher too. So but did you homeschool your own before you started the micro school?
So I don't have any children of my own.
Really?
So my
Okay.
kids are my babies. I just have always, it was a teacher that inspired me to become an educator. And I grew up in the hood, and there was a lot of beauty to the hood, but there was a need to get out in order to impact within, right?
Yeah.
So education gave me that vehicle, and I wanted to do that, so I became a teacher. But I found inside of public education you could not impact the change that you needed to, because the average reading level for my ninth grade students was third grade reading level.
Oh, say it.
And in that particular high school, there was no reading teacher. How are
Mm.
you justifying this? And so, and I would see with my children, they would say, just teach them on grade level, that'll be fine. Just add, just scaffold it, modify all of these things. I'm like, look, there's only so much modifications you can do for a child that doesn't understand blends and digraphs and all of that, you know? So, and when I asked a Black principal, could I embed more African American literature in the curriculum? And he told me no. The
Mm.
next year, I started my own school.
Oh,
That was it
that's,
for me.
wow. What? Game changer. Like, oh,
Oh,
okay.
okay, you gonna do
Oh,
that? Oh,
oh,
okay, then. No
don't even worry
problem.
about it. Don't even worry about it.
But it's
That is,
amazing, and I'm a spiritual person, and so it's amazing how God just prepares you for that. So
mhm.
about 2 years before that move, though, I went back and got my math certification, because I was like, I don't know what I'm going to do with this, but I want to leverage myself to be able to go wherever I want to go. So that prepared me, because when I went in my micro school, I didn't have to hire all these other people to come in, because I was ELA certified, which gave me a strength inside of history. And I was math certified, which gave me leverage inside of science. So I was able to, for the middle school child, be the sole educator for them.
that is so dope. So dope. Oh, that's awesome. And especially
Thank
coming from
you.
the angle you came from and understanding that your presence is needed and the difference is needed. And like you said, the traditional classroom don't offer that change that you think you're gonna do when you become a teacher. It's like, we have these visions. Coming a teacher, I'm gonna change the world. Like, when in
Right.
my classroom, this is gonna happen and all this stuff. And then you get in there and you like,
You in the
shut
middle of trying to teach, their eyes are watching God, and they coming on their announcements. Can you send someone to the office? Why are you interrupting my learning with this? Like,
yes,
children have
ma'am.
a schedule. Use the child schedule, call the child schedule. It was like all of the interruptions to the learning day, all of the unnecessary policies. I absolutely hated uniform policies. I just didn't
Mhm.
understand so many things that had absolutely nothing to do with student achievement.
Learning, yes,
Right.
yes.
So I teach 3 hours a day. That's it. After that, what we doing? You know,
I love that. What do you think? Because you spoke on having ninth graders reading on a third grade level. What do you think the correlation is? Because I had 10th and 12th graders reading on a third grade level. What do you think that? How do you think that happens? I'm just your theory and how do you think that happens?
I think that transfer from third to fourth, because that third is that spot, right? Third is where you, and when you transition to fourth, that's when you stop from learning to read to reading to learn, right?
Mm,
So as they continue to go, they continue to learn to read, but they don't learn to read to learn. And nobody goes after fourth grade, nobody's going to go back and try to work with you on fluency. No
mm,
one's going to work with you on vocabulary building. And right now, our children are engaged in so much noise that does not help to elevate their vocabulary. Because you'll find with that eighth grader, ninth grader, 12th grader, they have a vocabulary gap, they have a fluency gap. But who's teaching that? I mean, when we were growing up, I don't know how old you are, I'm 43, but
okay.
we did not curate what we watched. This is what came on television, and this is what you had to watch. So we were watching the shows that when we look back now, the vocabulary was a bit elevated. The ideas were elevated inside of there. Well, what are our children watching now? They're watching TikTok, they're watching YouTube, they're curating what they're watching. So what they're watching is not elevating them any, because I don't have to watch the news. We had to watch the news. It was one TV in the house, and that's what it was on. You
Yeah.
know, so I think the lack of engagement in quality communications is now impacting our vocabulary, and we know there's a direct correlation to being able to read fluently and effectively, and learn to, and read for the purpose of learning and vocabulary.
Yes, because I was gonna say comprehension. Like people be thinking like, "Oh, I know how to read these words," but do you actually comprehend what you're reading? Are you bringing it in? Are you receiving that whatever the message is that you're reading? And most of the time, it's not. Like the comprehension, I feel is really really low right now.
It's very low, but I think where the homeschooler is, because they're spending that time with that parent, and that parent is just not going to talk on that third grade level with you. You're going to have to rise up in this conversation, because this is where we're moving to. And so in the traditional school now, they're trying to make it more culturally relevant. But somehow culturally relevant to them means I'm going to throw in some slang here. I'm going to put some rap in here, and that's just not, that's not it. And so you'll find English teachers that don't speak well anymore, because now we're trying to be so culturally relevant. And I don't know why our culturally relevant, but I celebrate AAVE. Don't get it wrong now. I love our African American vernacular. I'm not suggesting that, but I'm saying that we do have to emerge inside of there those rigorous words, those so that our kids can have that exposure.
Yeah, and be prepared. Like, because some kids' goals are to go to college, and with understanding that mindset, you have to be able to write and comprehend for college. Like, you have to be able to write on that level. Although colleges are kind of like dumbing it down too. Like,
they didn't have a choice.
Yeah, I know, and that's a sad thing. That's really sad.
Well, not so much, because we find that a lot that we're learning in college is still absolutely unnecessary, right?
Of course. Yes. No. Yes. I'm saying as far as the writing level and the things like, because like I had ended my teaching in 12th grade English. So I saw where my kids were as far as, okay, you about to be a freshman in college and you're writing like this. Like, that's what I mean. Like, it's wild.
Right. And these are the ones in honor society. These are not even you're talking about poor writing among the high achievers. You're like,
yes, ma'am.
You have a 4.0 GPA and your sentence structure is horrible.
It's poor.
Right. Well, thank you. Let's call it like it is. Like, what is this? And they're going to college, and that's because we have all these inflated GPAs. That are attached to behavior and not true academic performance. But then even that is questionable, though, because what writing is absolutely necessary for me for life.
Absolutely correct. Especially now, like writing in general isn't even a thing. It's typing and being able to get the sentence out enough that it can be corrected. Because Microsoft Word corrects everything for you, even grammar now. So it is that is a good question. Like, what is necessary for success as far as what you're trying to achieve, where you're going?
I teach my children, I teach them how to write an email.
Yes, I did that. Well,
we used to teach how to write a friendly letter and a business letter, how to write a friendly email and a business email. That's more relevant, right?
Yes,
because we're not going to write any letters anymore. We're going to write emails. What should be in the body of an email? How do you add an attachment to an email? You would be amazed at how many children will start writing the text of the message.
Adults do that too, girl.
In the subject. What?
Oh, yes. I've had that. Yes, I've had that.
I see it a lot. Teach your child how to write an email. Teach your child how to write and engage in social media posts, right? Because they may be using social media for their personal, they may be using it for business, but how do you create engaging content? Teach them how to use Chat GPT at this point.
Yeah. I still need tutorials on that myself.
I'm still getting it. But if our children don't know, even with Chat GPT, you can't just copy paste and that's that. You have to know, no, this doesn't align with my branding and marketing. I need to tweak this language some. So they still need to know what they're reading to know what they want. Is this effectively saying what I want it to say? Is it connecting to the emotion that I want to have and so forth?